Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, a big welcome. My name's Jenny, and on this channel I mainly create lifestyle content, which pretty means I create content about anything and everything. I make videos about disability, about mental health, chronic illness, Disney, fashion, beauty, travel and everything in between. So hopefully there'll be something that you will enjoy, and I'd really love if you stick around and watch this video. So in this video I thought I would talk about disability aids, but kind of more generally than that, just things that I find that make my life a little bit easier with a disability or chronic illness. So not all of the things that I talk about are going to be specifically for people with disabilities, they're just things that I use to make my life a little bit easier. But I just thought it was a really good topic to discuss, because certainly when you're younger and you have a disability, it can be quite difficult to accept disability aids, mainly because they are not designed to be particularly nice looking. A lot of the disability aids that I have come across are very functional and, let's face it, pretty ugly, but they don't have to be. With some things I'm definitely still trying to find things that don't look quite so functional, but with other things I have managed to find stuff that's a little bit more my taste, let's say. So I thought I'd just talk about it and also try and raise awareness of younger people using disability aids, because for me using disability aids has massively opened up my life. If I didn't use a lot of these things, I would have a lot less independence, I would go out less, I would be able to do a lot less things for myself. So for me it's really important that I have kind of been able to accept using this kind of stuff, but I know it's not that easy, and I just thought by talking about it we could open up a conversation, talk about the difficulties about, you know, accepting disability aids and what would make it easier to be able to use them, but also just talk about some of our favourite disability aids as well. So I hope you'll find this video interesting and useful, and yeah, let's get on with talking about some of my favourite disability aids. So as you might know me by now, you'll know that I like to organise things into categories, so that's what I've done with this video. So I've got some different categories, and they are getting around, general home, washing, kitchen and technology. Those kind of basically cover the things that I'm talking about today, so I will just go through each one, tell you a little bit about it and how it helps me, and also where I got it from, in the hope that maybe it will help you as well. So our first category is getting around, and the first thing that I wanted to talk about was my electric wheelchair, or a power chair, you might call it slightly different things. This is one of my biggest disability aids, and it's probably the one that I use the most, or one of the ones that I use the most. I bought my electric wheelchair privately. I ended up getting a second-hand one because they are so expensive, which means that it's not adapted particularly for me. I had to kind of find one that kind of met my needs and wasn't kind of too far off. Even then it was still quite expensive. I think it was, I want to say, around about £2,000, and that's fairly cheap, I guess, for an electric wheelchair. I know you can spend upwards of £10,000 on a like specially fitted electric wheelchair, but I just couldn't find that kind of money to spend on it. So yeah, I've had mine for, I think I've had it for about three and a half years, something like that, and I absolutely love it. It doesn't meet my needs entirely because it's not specifically made for me, but it does the job. And yeah, it just means that I can get out, I can be independent, I don't have to have somebody pushing me, which I hate being pushed in a wheelchair, because you just lose so much of your autonomy and your independence. You know, if you want to go and look around a shop, you have to wait until the person pushes you in the right places, and I'm not a fan of a manual wheelchair, and also I really struggle to propel a manual wheelchair because of my EDS, so my electric wheelchair is just brilliant for that kind of thing, and it just means that I can feel part of whoever I'm out with. So when I was at uni, I first of all started with my manual wheelchair, and it meant that my friends would have to push me, and they were absolutely fine about it, they didn't mind, but for me I just didn't like feeling like they were my carer rather than my friend. So getting the electric wheelchair was a big bonus for me, because it felt I could, you know, I could go next to them, we could chat, I wouldn't have to ask them to push me. It just, for me, made my life a lot easier. I have got the Pride Fusion wheelchair, and as I said, it's not kind of specifically made for me, but the reason that I went for this one was for a number of reasons. It had a headrest, which I really needed because I get quite a lot of neck pain, so I find it easier to be able to put my head back. It tilts completely, so you can lie down if need be, which is great if you've got POTS. The legs will also come right up, which is also good for POTS if you're getting a bit faint and dizzy. And I also just find it good for, you know, comfort if you need your legs at different kind of angles. It's also got support behind the calves as well, so I need quite a lot of support for my legs, because I find if I haven't got that support, my legs get a lot more painful. So that was really good. And I think one of the reasons I went for this one over one that has a big wheel in the middle and then 2 wheels at either side was mainly because of size and the turning circle. I think when I first got it, I was at uni and the corridors were very, very small, and I needed one that would fit down the corridors basically. So I went for that one. I don't know whether I would get something slightly different next time, just because my needs have obviously changed now, but at the time this is what suited me. It has seen better days. It's falling apart a bit. Some of the like upholstery is looking pretty like worn, but for now it does the job, and I think at some point I will get a new wheelchair. I'm starting to try and save up a bit, but it's going to take a lot of saving. So yeah, for now I do love my wheelchair. It does so much for me, and I'm so glad that I went for an electric wheelchair in the end. The next thing that helps me get around are my crutches. These are not very exciting crutches, unfortunately. These are just bog standard NHS crutches. However, they probably don't look like your usual crutches that most people have. These are gutter crutches or forearm crutches. And I ended up having these after my leg surgery. So I had a femoral osteotomy where they broke my thigh bone and rotated it and put a metal plate, a metal rod in, and so I needed crutches. And because I have damage to my wrists, probably because of my EDS, but I've basically torn some of the cartilage and ligaments in my wrists, and so putting weight directly onto my wrists was not going to be a good idea. So they got these ones for me, which means that you put your whole forearm across, and then the weight is like put across the whole forearm rather than just through your wrist. So they do work better on that front. The only issue I really have with them is that you have to bend over slightly to use them, and that does my back in, but yeah, you can't have everything. But yeah, I mean, these aren't very exciting crutches. These are, as I said, NHS ones. I'm very grateful for them because they help me get around. I have been looking at smart crutches, which you can adjust this bit to basically have it however you want. So I could have them like this, or you can tilt it down so that they're more like kind of crutches that your wrist gets the weight on. They're not very cheap. I think they're about £100-ish. So it's quite a big investment, but it is something that I am considering because, one, I've heard really good reports about them, and two, they just look a lot nicer than these, don't they? I can't really do anything with these because they're not mine. They have to go back to the hospital, so I can't really decorate them or anything. And if I'm going to be using crutches on a more long-term basis, I would just like something a little bit more fun. So it is a possibility that I might at some point get some smart crutches, but for the moment these ones are doing me fine, and they've helped me get around for 9 months. So, you know, I do like them, but yeah, they're not very aesthetically pleasing. The next thing I wanted to include in this category is my walking stick. So at the moment I'm not actually using a walking stick because I need the 2 crutches because of my surgery. But before I had my surgery I used a walking stick, and I remember actually way back when I was probably about 13 or 14, I injured my foot or my leg, I can't remember which one. At the time I didn't know that I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but looking back it was like a typical injury basically. And I remember going to the physio and thinking, I wonder if they'll give me crutches, and the physio said, no, I think you need to have a walking stick. And I was like, okay, and she came out with this brown like wooden walking stick that has like the bit that goes like that. Basically the kind of walking stick that you would associate, I guess, with an older person. And I remember her giving it to me and I just thought, I'm not using that. So yeah, I didn't take my walking stick to school. I struggled on, and that probably didn't help my foot at all, but I just felt so self-conscious about using that walking stick that I did not want to even contemplate it. And then years later, when my mobility started getting a lot worse, I was basically having to hold on to somebody every time I went out of the house. And it was just getting to the point where I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't leave the house unless I hold on to someone. And it's just not, it's not practical, is it, to have to hang on to somebody all the time? So I spoke to some of my friends and they were like looking to getting a walking stick, and they gave me some suggestions. So I went for a switch stick. And I'm so glad I did, because my switch stick has seen me through so many events and times in my life, and it looks funky. So I have two switch sticks. I will put like pictures over this so that you can see exactly what they're like. But basically one has got purple spots and the other has got pink spots, so I can kind of change them around depending on what my outfit was or what have you. And the great thing about the switch sticks is that they actually fold up, so they kind of come apart. Well, they don't come apart completely, they kind of come apart a little bit, and then you can fold it and put it in a bag. So if you were traveling, or I don't know, when I was like in my wheelchair but I still needed my stick, I could fold the stick up and just hang it off the back and not have to worry about carrying it around. That's the only thing about these crutches. When I'm in my wheelchair, but I need to take my crutches with me because, say, I want to get out to go to the loo or something, these are a nightmare to hold on my wheelchair because they're so big and bulky. They just they're like, I'm holding them like this and I'm bashing people, and then I'm trying to hold my bag as well, and yeah, it's a nightmare. So this switch stick was really, really good because it just folded away. And as I said, they come in various patterns, and I got so many comments from people. I would just be like, I don't know, in a shop or something like that, and I would always get comments of someone saying, oh, I love your stick, or asking like, where did you get your stick from, or that's a really funky stick. And it was so nice to get comments like that, rather than people saying, oh, what happened to you, or what did you do? I mean, I did still get those comments as well, but it was nice to get positive comments about my disability aid. So I do love my switch stick. I don't know whether I'll go back to a walking stick. It just depends on how my leg recovers. I've got possibly more surgeries to my other leg as well, so I kind of anticipate that for quite a while I'm probably going to be using crutches, but I will keep my sticks because they have been brilliant up until now when I've needed them. And yeah, I'd recommend checking them out because I love them. And then the last thing that I want to include in my getting around category is my Motability car. I love my little yellow bubble. Unfortunately, it's not going to be around for much longer because I'm actually changing my Motability car. It's come to the end of its 3-year lease, and so I'm having to look for something different, which is good and bad. Like, I do love my yellow car, but it doesn't quite meet my needs anymore. So it will be good to get something that kind of fits a lot better. But I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get another yellow car because they just don't seem to make that colour. And I do love it because it's bright and cheerful, and people comment on it and say how much they love it. So yeah, I will really miss it. But my Motability car has been a lifesaver, quite literally. I would probably be housebound if I didn't have a Motability car, because I can't get my electric wheelchair into any other car. It's impossible to lift because it is really, really heavy. So I've got a boot hoist, which means that I can kind of collapse my wheelchair a little bit, hook the boot hoist on, and then the hoist lifts it in and out of the car. Before that, I would either have to take my manual wheelchair, or we were trying to get my electric wheelchair in and out of my dad's Land Rover. We would put like ramps up and stuff. It was a nightmare. Like, it would take ages. I couldn't do it myself, and it was just not like long-term feasible. So getting my Motability car gave me some independence. I mean, at the moment I can't drive because of my leg and everything, but when I could drive, it meant that I could go out on my own and be able to get my chair in and out of my car by myself. So when I was at uni, it meant I could go to uni without having to rely on somebody taking me there. It was really, really good. I mean, it still is good. I can still go out. One of my parents has to drive me, but it means I can still go out and have my electric wheelchair. And yeah, I don't know where I would be without it. For my next Motability car, I'm looking at getting something like hand controls to help with driving if my legs aren't working very well. There are just so many adaptations you can get. I've made another video actually about Motability, so I'll link it below if you want to just learn a little bit more about it. But there's so many different things that they can offer, and for me, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have a Motability car, so I'm massively grateful for that. So the next category is general home, and the first thing in this category is my stair lift. I haven't had my stair lift for that long. I got it just before I had my surgery in November. It was a little bit of a rush to get it, but we managed it in the end, and I was quite against getting one actually. My dad kept saying, look, I really think you should get a stair lift. And I was like, no, it'll be fine. Like, oh, I'll manage to get up and down the stairs. It'll be fine. Thank God we got it, because I cannot walk up and down stairs. Haven't been able to since I had my surgery. And so, yeah, I definitely needed it. And I'm glad that I listened to him in the end, because otherwise I would be stuck downstairs. With my stair lift, we actually got it privately, but my dad applied for a grant through it's an organisation of people that worked in his area of work. I can't remember exactly, but basically they have grants available to help with things like home adaptations and stuff like that. So we were really lucky to be able to get a grant for it, because my bedroom's on the top floor, because we have a loft extension. We needed 2 stair lifts, one for each set of stairs, so it was going to be quite expensive. But yeah, we got 2 companies out to quote for it. We actually went for the cheaper one, because the more expensive one was like double the price, and we couldn't quite understand why. And yeah, my stair lift actually is probably the one thing I do use every single day, because I'm up and down the stairs several times a day, and I wouldn't be able to do that without it. So I am really, really grateful for my stair lift. It means that the whole house is open to me. It's easy to use. It kind of folds away and isn't too much of a sort of eyesore, and like it doesn't get in the way when other people are trying to use the stairs. Plus my nephew absolutely loves it. He loves having a ride on it. He likes helping me like put it out and like press the buttons and all that kind of stuff. My niece isn't quite so sure about it just yet, but I'm sure as she gets a little bit older she will love it as well. But yeah, I don't know where I'd be without my stair lift now, so I am really, really glad that we decided to get that in the house. The next thing that I've got fairly recently that has been a big help is a grabber. I haven't got it here to show you, but I will put footage over so you can see exactly how it works. I got this from an occupational therapist. I was referred through adult services, and she came round and we talked a lot about my needs and what my issues were, and we kind of went around the house to work out what kind of things I might find helpful. And one of those things was a grabber. It's a pretty simple piece of equipment. Basically, it's like a long handle with a thing that you can grab, and it just means that if I'm struggling, like I struggle to kind of bend down to the floor or to reach things higher up, I can just use my grabber to pick stuff up. So if I drop something, I'm not having to wait until someone else is around to pick it up. I can just be a little bit more independent. It's another thing that my nephew loves playing with. He goes around pretending he's got like a robot arm. But yeah, no, for me, it's just that little bit more independence. I mean, it's a fairly like functional piece of kit. It doesn't look particularly exciting, but it does what it needs to do. And yeah, I'd be definitely a bit lost without it, because I'd have things all over the floor probably that I'd dropped and wouldn't be able to pick up. So yeah, it's been really, really helpful, especially since having my surgery. And yeah, I'm really glad that I've got it. The The next thing that we've got in the home that really helps is a ramp going up to our front door. Because our front door is quite a big step, we put a ramp up because I was struggling, especially after my surgery. I was going to find it hard to get in and out. We have actually got a half step at the front door, which was put in when my gran used to live here, but even then I was really struggling with that. So we put a ramp in. It's a ramp that we bought ourselves because we did ask, so the occupational therapists came round and they can refer you to have sort of like more like building work type stuff done rather than just like little bits of equipment. But because of the rules on how steep a ramp has to be, it was going to be like some like maze of ramps for it to end up being right. And so we ended up just buying a ramp ourselves, and it's fine. It's like, you know, it probably doesn't conform to their standards of like guidelines, but it works for us. I don't know whether we bought it originally as a dog ramp. I can't actually remember. But yeah, we've just kind of fixed it to the front of the house, and it just makes it so much easier for me to get in and out. You can also get in and out with a wheelchair, so we've done that with my grandma. It's not the easiest thing to do because the door gets in the way a bit, but it does just make it a lot easier. And yeah, for me, it meant when I got home from surgery, I could get in the house with like not very much like issues. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things that's a bit like put together, rough and ready, a bit like, you know, not quite how it's meant to be, but it does the job. And yeah, I don't think I could manage without it now. And then the last thing in the home is we've got a half step which goes out into our back garden. So basically when I had my surgery, I wasn't able to get out of the back door into our back garden, which meant that the back garden was completely like off limits to me. Before that I wasn't too bad, although it was still quite a big step, but certainly since the surgery it was just impossible to get out there. So when the occupational therapist came to see me, we mentioned that to her, and she referred me for this sort of slightly more like permanent building work. I mean, it's not really building work, but yeah, basically a guy came round and sort of measured it all up and everything. And it basically means that you've kind of got your step like this, and then they put in a step that's kind of like half of the size. So it's just like a little bit less like of a drop to get in and out of. And at first I just wasn't really sure whether it was going to help, but actually it has been a massive help, and it means that I can get out in our garden. Obviously it wouldn't be any good if you needed to get a wheelchair out there, but at the moment I'm able to walk out there with my crutches, so it just means that over the summer I've been able to get out in the garden. We've been able to take my nephew and niece out there, and I can kind of join in with family stuff. We can, you know, have barbecues out there and eat out there. And I just think, certainly for me, like the garden is a really important part of your home, because it's somewhere like green and nice that you can go when you can't necessarily go out of the house. So certainly when I was shielding, it meant that I could still be outside and be enjoying, you know, flowers and trees and things like that without having to leave the house. So for me it's just been, yeah, definitely a lifesaver over shielding, but also just beyond that it means that I can do what the rest of my family are doing. So the next category is washing, and the first thing that I wanted to put in this category is my shower stool. This is another thing that I got from the occupational therapist, so I haven't had it for that long. Before this I haven't, well, basically since I had my surgery I haven't been able to have a bath. I can't get in and out of the bath, which is really sad because I really miss having a bath. It's one of my like favourite things to do, one to relax and two to help with pain. I love having my Lush bath bombs and just relaxing in a nice warm bubbly bath, but I can't do it, and I do really miss it. But yeah, my mum and dad have got a shower which is pretty much like a walk-in shower. It's got a very small step, and up until recently we were using one of these, like, actually it's one of the chairs I'm sitting on. It's like a black plastic IKEA chair, like the fold-up ones. And so every time I wanted to have a shower, my mum would get one of these from the kitchen, carry it all the way upstairs, put it in their shower. I'd have my shower, then she'd have to dry it off, fold it up, take it back downstairs again. it was a bit of a faff. I mean, it worked and it did what it needed to do, but it wasn't ideal. So we told my OT about this, and she said, oh, we can get you a shower chair. And there's various different kinds of shower chairs, so you can get ones that look more like a chair, or you can get the ones that I've got, which is more like a stool. I don't know why we went for that one in the end, but we did. It's got handles on both sides, so I've got something to hold on to kind of push myself up or to lower myself down. And it just, I mean, it does what it says on the tin. It's a stool in the shower. It just means that I can sit down and have a shower, because I can't stand up to have a shower. One, because it's too painful to stand for very long, and also when you've got pots, the hot water and the heat and everything can make you feel very faint. So sitting down is a lot safer. And yeah, it just means that I can enjoy having a shower a little bit more. I can be a little bit more independent. My mum's not kind of worrying that I'm going to slip over or faint or what have you. So yeah, it's, again, it's not like a particularly attractive piece of equipment. It's a white stool basically, but actually it doesn't kind of look too out of place, and it's definitely not the worst like piece of shower equipment I've seen for sort of disabled people. So I'm not too fussed about it. Obviously, you know, you could get a wet room built with a nice like seat and everything if you were kind of doing it that way, but we weren't. We were kind of having to add to it. So for me, it works really well. You can take it out so that, you know, when other people have a shower, they don't have to worry about having it in there, although they might want to sit down, I don't know. And yeah, it's just, it does what it needs to do, so I wouldn't be able to have a shower without it. So talking of having baths, I will just add in that I do also have a bath board, which is basically a plastic board thing that goes across your bath, and I did used to use it before I had my operation. Basically it just means that you can kind of, well, you can either sit on it and then like turn yourself in and lower yourself down into the bath so that it's just easier to kind of get in and out, or you can actually sit on it when you're having the bath so that you're not having to kind of get right down into the tub. I kind of did the first one usually because I didn't really like sitting on it and then trying to wash myself, but that option was there if I couldn't have a full bath. But yeah, unfortunately at the moment it's just not allowing me to have a bath because I can't like get my legs into the bath to then lower myself down and get myself back up again. But certainly before I had my surgery it was a good option, and it definitely helped me to feel a bit safer in the bath. And then the other really important thing I wanted to put in about washing is grab rails. So we have had a grab rail put into the shower because although I've got the handle things on my shower stool, once I've kind of pushed myself up a bit, I needed something else to hold on to. Again, it's a fairly functional looking grab rail. It's white, it's plastic, it's not particularly chic or anything like that, but it does the job. And it's not, when they put it in, we kind of did say, oh, it's not the worst one we've ever seen. Like some of them do look really like functional basically, whereas this one, it looks like not too bad. So we've got that one in there. I've also got grab rails on my bath, so when I was using my bath it meant that I could hold on to things to kind of help me get in and out. But it's quite, I guess it's like quite a simple thing and not something that people necessarily think of. I hadn't even thought of having one in the shower until my occupational therapist mentioned it. So if you kind of find yourself, I don't know, in the shower or the bath, reaching for something to help yourself kind of get in and out, do consider putting a grab rail in, because for me it makes a massive amount of difference. It helps me to feel a bit safer because I've got something to grab onto. And yeah, I think anything that's going to help you to, one, be safer, and two, to be able to enjoy a bath or a shower like more easily is definitely worth having. So moving on to kitchen, I've only really got one thing for this at the moment. I don't know whether if I was living on my own I would end up with more kind of aids to help me, but because I live with my family, if I can't do something I ask one of them to do it. So I think there probably are other kitchen aids that I would find quite helpful, but I just haven't got them at the moment. The one thing I do find really helpful is I bought a a jar opener, which is like, I'll put footage over so you can see how it works properly, but it's kind of got 2 holes and then handles at the end. And the holes have got like grippy bits in, so you can put the corresponding hole to whichever jar you're trying to open, and then just turn it. And I kind of, when I bought it, I was like, is it going to work? But actually I find it quite useful. I will just say you need quite a good grip for it. So I originally bought it for my mum because she's got arthritis in her hand and struggles to open like jars and lids and things like that, and she does struggle to use it, and I must admit I find it quite difficult to use sometimes because of dislocations in my fingers and stuff. So it's not ideal, but for some things it does work. But I think there are various different types of sort of jar and can and things like that openers that work in different ways, so I'm kind of tempted to maybe try other things as well. But for some stuff it does work, and depending on what your disability or what you kind of find more difficult, it might be something that you can try. I'll try and link the one that I got below. It might have to be something similar because I got it a few years ago now, but it's certainly something to look into and see kind of what kind of one you might think would work best for you. I'd be really interested to hear what other aids people have in the kitchen to kind of help them. Something I think I would find quite useful is some sort of like perching stool. I really struggle if I want to, like, I don't know, be at the hob and like cook something or preparing like I don't know, vegetables or something, because I can't stand up for very long. So I think that would be something I'd find quite useful, but just haven't quite got there yet with that kind of thing. But yeah, do let me know what sort of stuff you find useful in the kitchen, because I'd love to be able to cook more. It's just kind of finding ways to help you be a little bit more independent. And then the last category is technology. I'm quite a big lover of technology. I like trying new kinds of tech and seeing ways that they can help. And the first thing that I have found really helpful is we got a Ring doorbell. We'd kind of put it off for a while, and it got to the point where if I was at home on my own, it was just getting impossible for me to get to the door. So especially now, it mainly came around actually after I'd had my surgery, because I slowed down even more than I had before. And I mean, I'm not at home on my own a lot, but there were occasions that I was at home and someone might try and deliver a package and I just couldn't get to the door in time, and by the time I got there they'd have gone away with the package, and so someone would then have to go to the sorting office and collect it, and it was just really annoying. So we decided to get the Ring doorbell. And it just means that someone, well, one, you know when someone's coming to the door because it makes like a jingling noise, so you can kind of prepare yourself before they've even knocked. But also, you know, they ring the bell and then you can get up on your phone the camera, so you can see exactly who's at the door, and you also can press a button to talk to them. So if I'm, I don't know, up here or up in my bedroom and someone rings the doorbell, I can look, and if it's, I don't know, somebody delivering a parcel, I can say, oh, I'm coming down, I'm disabled, it's going to take me a while, either leave the package on the front doorstep, or if you're able to just wait for me, I will be there, just so that they know that like someone is coming, it's just going to take me a while. And also it just means that I can look and decide whether I actually want to go to the door or not. If it's someone trying to sell something or whatever, I will just not bother. So it means I can save some energy as well. So yeah, I have found it really, really useful. Sometimes it's a bit temperamental, but most of the time it works quite well. And it also gives you a bit of added security because you can add like a storage package so that it actually records whenever it picks up anybody at the door. So you've just got that extra bit of like security if you're at home on your own as well, which does make me feel a bit better. Another piece of technology that I have started using fairly recently, and I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it, is a falls alarm. This one is one that goes around your wrist. I got this through Adult Services when I was referred to them for looking at like carers and PAs and stuff. They asked like lots of questions and asked if I had one, and I said no, and they were able to provide one. So this one goes around your wrist, and basically it has two functions. So it detects if you have fallen, but also you can press the button on it. So if you, I don't know, were on your own and you became ill, you know, it obviously wouldn't detect that, but you could press the button and it would still call through to the call centre. So we have a box down in the lounge, and if this goes off, it calls through, and then someone from the call centre will come up on the box and say, Jenny, are you okay? How can we help you? And you know, you tell them what you need. For me, we have it so that if they can't hear me talking to them through the box, they will try ringing my mobile. If they can't get through to my mobile, they'll then try my dad, and then they'll try my mum, and if they can't get hold of either of them, then they will ring an ambulance. So I was a bit worried at first, because I thought, I don't want them to like go straight to ringing an ambulance, because you know, I might not need that, I might just need someone to help me. But you could kind of specify who would be called and what kind of order things would go in, so that was really good. The only thing that I find frustrating is that it does seem to go off at like random times when I haven't really done anything. If it thinks you've fallen, you can put your hand over it and it should stop it. But if it thinks you've pressed it, you can only cancel it at the box in the lounge, which is quite difficult when I'm up here. Like the other day I was up here just doing some editing and it went off. I don't know what I did, but it went off and I couldn't get down to the box in time to cancel it. So I was like trying to get down and I could hear them kind of calling for me, and I was like, oh, I don't want them to have to ring my mobile. So I'm kind of like shouting down the stairs saying, it's all right, sorry, it went off by mistake. And they are really good. Like if it goes off by mistake, they don't, you know, have a go at you or anything. They just say, okay, fine, I'll cancel it. But when it's going off by mistake quite regularly, it does get slightly frustrating. So I'm kind of contemplating whether to have one around my neck instead, in the hope that that maybe won't go off quite so much, because I don't know whether it's just that I don't know, catch my arm on things or stuff like that. But in general terms, it is a really good idea, and if I am at home on my own, it just gives me a little bit of peace of mind that if I do fall or if I get ill or hurt myself or something, I know that I can kind of get help quite quickly. So it's not something I'd ever really thought of before until they brought it up, but I am really glad that I've got it. I just need to find something that's not going to go off by itself like every other day. And then my final piece of equipment that I wanted to include is the Amazon Echo Alexa. I mean, they have various different ones, but we have the Amazon Echo. Obviously this isn't, you know, a disability product as with the Ring doorbell, but I use it as one. So basically we now have an Echo in the kitchen, in the lounge, in my bedroom, and my mum and dad have got one in their bedroom, but it's a Sonos, so it doesn't quite do all the same things. But yeah, I think they're thinking of also getting one for their bedroom as well. And basically I used to wear a thing around my neck which was just like a little alarm, and instead of going through to a call centre, it would just play music from a box and tell whoever it was in the house that I needed some help. And it was just really annoying having to wear it around my neck all the time. And yeah, obviously you would have maybe the box in the lounge, and then if someone else was like upstairs, they wouldn't hear it. So with having the Alexas, it means that if I'm up in my bedroom and I fall or I hurt myself or I need help with something, I can ask Alexa to make an announcement to all the other Echoes, saying, you know, come and help me, please help me, like I've fallen over or something. Alexa, make an announcement.
What's the announcement?
Please can you come and help me, Dad?
Announcing.
Please can you come and help me, Dad? And hopefully through most of the house somebody will be able to hear it. So although I've got my falls alarm, it just means that it's a way of getting, you know, through to somebody in the house that perhaps I wouldn't need my falls alarm for. And yeah, I really like it. Obviously you can do so many other different things with the Amazon Alexas. We have great fun asking it questions and doing silly things with it, but it also has a really helpful use for me. And it's not something I particularly thought of before until we bought one, and realised what kind of stuff it could do. So yeah, I really like it. I waited until it was on sale on Amazon, because it does seem to go up and down in price quite a lot. So I think I got it for like half the price of what it is normally. And yeah, we've just got them dotted around the house, so it's a really good way of kind of communicating with anybody else that's in the house and just getting some help if I need it. So those are all the products that make my life a little bit easier with a disability or chronic illness. I hope you might have found something helpful or interesting through watching this. If you have got a disability, perhaps you've picked up something that you may not have tried before, or if you haven't got a disability, I hope it's just interesting to kind of hear about these kind of things, because some of this stuff you could use as well, so it's not all completely related to disability. So yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have and you'd like to see more videos from me, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Also hit the notification bell, that means you'll get notified every time I upload a video so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment, let me know if you use any of these disability aids, or if there are any other disability aids that you use, or even if they're not specifically disability aids but things that make your life easier. I'd really love to hear about them, because I think it's really good to share and learn and try and find other things that might help other people. So do leave them in the comments below and we can have a chat about them. Also, let me know if there's any other videos you'd like to see me do, whether it's about disability, chronic illness, mental health, or something completely different, fashion, beauty, Disney, traveling, anything like that. Do let me know, because I'm always listening to your ideas and suggestions. It's always good to know what kind of stuff you guys would like to see. Come and follow me on social media. My links are in the description below, but I'll pop my Instagram and Twitter here. Those are the two that I'm mainly on, so please do come over and say hello. It would be lovely to talk to you, and I'll see you in another video very soon.